An Afrikaans magazine article from the time uses the vivid term for a miniskirt that you don't hear anymore. It calls them eina rokkies. Hi, welcome to Just Off the Highway. I'm outrage. It's April 2025. I'm near the wall of the Vaal Dam and the current water level is overflowing at 108%. Now, that's very different from the last time I was here about 4 months ago, when the dam level was critically low, under 30%. And because of the low water, we were lucky enough to get a glimpse of structures that are usually underwater. And I was able to show you where the flying boats of the 1940s docked and the remnants of the old terminal buildings. So, while I was researching, this quirky bit of South African history suddenly popped up, and I wanted to share the story that's so quintessentially South African. It's about change and fear and fashion. Did you know, and here's the moment where I do my best impersonation of a chappies rapper, that the length of a woman's skirt is historically linked to the level of the water in the Vaal Dam. So let's detour back in time to the 1960s, the swinging 60s. Internationally, it was of course the eras of hippies and psychedelics and sexual revolution. But in South Africa, we had verwoerd and Forster, apartheid, verkramtheid, an altogether very different world. And the southern tip of Africa was just experiencing the first real stirring of youth culture. And soon a major storm was brewing in the form of the miniskirt. Attributed to the British fashion designer Mary Quant, the effect of the mini was to make people crazy.
Warning, ladies and gentlemen, this next part is spicy.
Which certainly is a sight for sore eyes.
So today the length of a woman's dress is pretty unremarkable. We find it difficult to imagine the uproar caused by young women wearing skirts that were 3 to 5 inches, that's 8 to 12 centimeters, above the knee. An Afrikaans magazine article from the time uses the vivid term for a miniskirt that you don't hear anymore. It calls them eina rokkies. And for those who don't speak Afrikaans, eina is an expression of pain, like crying, ouch. To give you an idea, in 1967, they were totally banned at the universities of Pretoria and Potchefstroom, and even that English-speaking den of iniquity, Wits. But as the article describes, the further south in the country you went, the further north the hemlines crept. Minis were permitted on campus at Cape Town and Stellenbosch. In April 1969 in Johannesburg, the mini outraged an Anglican priest with the unfortunate or maybe portentous name of the Reverend Arthur Sexby. And one Sunday, when 5 young women attended his church wearing minis, he refused to start the service until they left. He was quoted as saying, "This is my own private war. If it comes to a last resort, my congregation will have to choose between me and the miniskirts." And Reverend Sexby formed the National Association for Public Morality and Welfare with a man named Gert Eysel. And together they tried to rally the public to the cause to, quote, crush the evils of the mini. But for some strange reason, the fashion was proving to be quite popular. And the story goes that at the meeting of the National Association for Public Morality and Welfare, only 22 people attended. And 11 of them were newspaper journalists. And 4 of those were wearing minis. The campaign to ban the Mini was ultimately short. And it's now that we get the link to the Vaal Dam. Mr. Aisel believed that women wearing miniskirts would invite more than just moral consequences. He said, quote, "Until the shameful parts of women are covered, I am convinced that God will not fill the Vaal Dam." When I saw how dry this place was in November 2024, I would have been inclined to believe him. And 4 months later, I have to admit that, like most men, I know even less about the weather than I do about fashion. And if there's one thing that history teaches us, is that there are some things that we can control and others that are just way above us. And it's our job to keep the faith and know the difference. That's it for this episode, folks. Please keep supporting Just Off the Highway so that I can keep bringing South African stories to you. Without you, this project will simply collapse. And if you become a member on buymeacoffee.com/lproduce, you'll get exclusive bonus stories regularly. I'd really like to have you join us there. So, see you all a little further up the road. Bye.